Hello, good afternoon to all of you. This is the report of Group 5. Ang topic natin ngayon ay soul making, appropriation, and improvisation. Ang una nating tatalakayin ay soul making. What is soul making? Ano nga bang soul making? Soul making is the form of crafting story at transforming brief moment into image or symbol thus connected with people understanding culture and embodying tolerance and peace. So ayun, ito daw ay para maging madali sa ibang tao na nakakakita, na maintindihan at makakonect sa tema ng artwork. Ngayon naman ay dumako naman tayo sa soul making and diverse meaning from arts. In order to human to make sense of language and diverse meaning from words, semantic and grammatical rules are important element to be considered. That is soul making. That give meaning to an individual artwork. Unlike people, they have soul. That's why they have own personality.
However, there are some people who go to the extreme by believing that copying the exact artwork of an artist and attributing it to his own. This could pose a problem, especially with authorship. The problem arises when the appropriation artist would get bits and pieces from other works and incorporate these elements into his own work. There seems to be a very thin demarcation line between appropriation art and forgery. Traditionally, forgery can be classified into two forms: outright copies of existing works and pastiches, which are works that bring together elements from a work and infusing them to a new work. But in contemporary times, forgery can be in the form of creating an approximate of what an artist would do by prediction. One of the most famous works of appropriation would have to be Andy Warhol's Campbell's Soup Cans 1962. As an artist, Warhol decided to isolate the image of the product. This attempt could in turn stimulate product recognition.
Improvisation can be defined as doing something without prior preparation. There is a decision to act upon something that may not necessarily be planned. Within the present context, improvisation has become an integral part of the arts. Some would say that it is a reaction against the stiffness in the arts during the 20th century. There is a call for liberation from monotony that aims to rekindle the creative spirits of people in the arts. For some artists, infusing spontaneity and improvisation adds up the totality of the work of art. The unexpectedness of the changes brought about the improvisation makes the artwork to have a distinctive quality that creates its individuality and identity. Some artists subscribe to the idea of allowing chances in the process of producing the work. For example, artists would want to capture the gloom brought about by an approaching storm or the beauty of the meteor shower at night. Since they do not necessarily have absolute control over the natural phenomena, the reliance of chances may not necessarily produce their expected outcome. Artists allowing their subjects to do improvisation may have totally different results as well. When artists make his work, he has already an idea of the elements that will be included on his work. As he begins to craft his work, he may have deviated from his original plan. So in essence, improvisation is a event in the process of making the painting. During 1960s, art improvisation has taken form in the galleries around New York City. Performance arts, dance, and visual arts were combined to create new form of artworks using a new medium. These performances were known as the happenings, which later on paved the way of modern body art and performance art. One of central figures in the improvisation movement was George Matthew. He started the action painting, wherein the process is seen real time. In this scenario, the process is more important than the finished product. These figures show how improvisations allow for a certain extent of freedom for the artist to improvise and allow the subject to perform and embody the artwork itself. To a certain extent, it allows the artist to explore and think about how the audience can actually be a part of the work itself. Improvisation has been a revolutionary concept when it comes to art because it blurs the line of reality and that of imagination.
The next topic is art in Asia.
Chinese art. In the present context, China is the forefront economic development. Its booming economy has led to its modernization. China has been at the leading edge of development, especially in terms of cultural development. Chinese under the Sui dynasty was under a feudal kind of social system. Chinese feudal system developed under the Sui dynasty. This parallel period with that of Greece's Golden Age, a period when culture, particularly art, has flourished tremendously. During this period, metal works befitting the royal family were produced in abundance. Jade was also a popular choice of material artworks. Confucianism was the dominant way of life subscribed by the general public. Those who subscribed to principles exposed by Confucius believed that in order for society to work, one must learn how to sympathize to others. These principles became evident in most artworks depicting everyday life and how these social interactions come to play. The Chinese also had interactions with Western missionaries who came from India and brought some of the Indian influences to China. Because of this, Indian models inspired a lot of Chinese artists for a few centuries. By the start of the 6th century, Chinese artists started making art that highlighted their very own culture. Paintings usually depicted magical places and realms that were born out sheer imagination while still infusing the Chinese characters that define their culture. It was a dominant belief that a great power coming from a higher spirit is the one moving the artist and his work together. Most paintings were done in monumental styles wherein rocks and mountains served as a barrier that made the viewer distracted initially from the main subject of the work. Rounded forms rise in a way that it flows from the background into the foreground. Artists also use sharp brush strokes to provide detail in their works. Western landscape usually had a single vanishing point, while Chinese paintings had the opposite since most paintings aim to give the audience a multiple perspective on the subject. Porcelain is one of the most commonly used items to make decorative ornaments such as vases and jars. Just like most Chinese artworks, the focal point in these vases depicts a central theme, nature. In addition, Some of the common overreaching themes of Chinese artworks include everyday activities, war and violence, death and nature. Art becomes an avenue for the artist to convey his reflection of the things he is aware of. From a Western point of view, this reverence of the Chinese can be mistaken for as that of worshipping gods.
Japanese art. Art in Japan has undergone a series of transition and periodization, and there are Korean and Chinese influences evident in Japan artworks. That's why Japan has transitioned into a modern cultural mixing pot. Haniwa House. These are ceramic figures that are made up of clay, and they were made for ritual use and buried with the dead as funerary objects. Here's the example of Haniwa House. Shintoism is the native religion of Japan, and this religion subscribes to beliefs such as being one with nature, embracing the notion of the existence of many gods. During the Japan and China trading relations, Japan were influenced by China through practices and beliefs. That's why Buddhism became an integral part of Japanese culture. Then Japan and China had a long-standing relationship. That's why most of the arts of the Japanese have connection on Chinese culture. Japanese style of painting. After the 14th century, Japan isolated itself from the rest of the world, which gave them the avenue to let their culture flourish. That's why the Japanese style of painting leaned towards abstract and naturalistic handlings. Ukiyo-e is a genre of Japanese art which flourished from 17th through 19th century. This is a woodcut prints and paintings that was crafted. Japanese developed this kind of painting. The focus of woodcut prints and paintings are female beauties, kabuki actors, scene from history, and folk tales. Hiroshige and Shoraku are painters who had a lasting impact on Western artists like Vincent van Gogh and Edward Manet. Here's the examples of ukiyo-e. The first one is Aseo Fukuona, or also known as Woman Wiping Face, made by Utamaru in the year 1798. The second one is The Plum Park in Kameido by Hiroshige in the year 1857. And the last one is the Matsumoto Yonesabaru as Kiwaizakan no Shosho in the play Katakyuchi no Riai Banashi, that made by Sharaku in the year 1794.
Today I will discuss some arts in the Philippines. One is painting, dancing, weaving, sculpting, and pottery. What is painting? Painting is the art of the Philippines, refers to the works of art that have developed and accumulated in the Philippines from the beginning of civilization in the country up to the present era. It reflects to its society and non-Filipinos the wide range of cultural influences on the country's culture and how these influences honed the country's arts. Damian Domingo. He is the first great Filipino painter. He is a Chinese-Filipino painter who established the official Philippine Art Academy in his residence in Tondo in 1821. Fernando Amorsolo. He called Grand Old Man of Philippine Art. He is the first national artist in painting in 1972. This is his some artwork, The Rape of Manila 1945, Planting Rice 1949, Defense of a Filipina Woman's Honor in 1945, and Dalagang Bukid in 1936. Philippine Folk Dance. A folk dance is a dance developed by people that reflect the life of the people of a certain country or region. Not all ethnic dances are folk dances. Ritual dances origin are not considered to be folk dances. Ritual dances are usually called religious dances because of their purpose. Here are some examples of folk dance. Maglalatik, sayaw sa bangko, tinikling, and binasuan. Weaving. Weaving in the Philippines dates back to the 13th century. It makes use of local cotton, fibers, abaca, and pineapple as raw material. The province of Aklan aims to be the country's loom weaving capital, with the exquisite and world-class pina cloth, the queen of Philippine fabrics, as its star product. Here how weaving works. Sculpting. Filipino sculptors came to be known in the middle of the 19th century. Classical Philippine sculpture reached its peak in the works of Guillermo Tolentino. His best-known masterpiece is the Bonifacio Monument, which is a group sculpture composed of numerous figures massed around a central obelisk. Here are some examples of sculptors: Magellan Shrine, Lapu-Lapu Shrine, Bonifacio Monument, and Rizal Monument. Last but not the least, pottery. It is the process and the products of forming vessels and other objects with clay and other ceramic materials, which are fired at high temperatures to give them a hard and durable form. Major types include earthenware, stoneware, and porcelain. This is how pottery works. That's all for now. Thank you.